What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review. And today we are talking about 1964's James Bond 007 movie titled Goldfinger. And this is the third of the Sean Connery James Bond films, the first of the James Bond films. And this film has a new director under Guy Hamilton, who went on to do things like Live and Let Die, Diamonds Are Forever, and The Man with the Golden Gun, other James Bond 007 movies. And he actually gets to work with the other James Bond, Roger Moore, who I think is like the 70s going into the 80s Bond, you know what I mean, in 73 with Live and Let Die. But he also works with Sean Connery in 71 for Diamonds Are Forever. And he works again with Roger Moore in 1974 for The Man with the Golden Gun. So he makes 4 Bond movies over this decade from 64 to 74 with 2 different Bond guys. But this film was the first of the James Bond films for Sean Connery that I was like, oh, this film feels like it actually had like a vision, and Goldfinger being this big bad, and like at first you think he's just an idiot trying to fuck over this other guy, you know, by cheating with some girl with binoculars looking at his cards, you know what I mean? And like he's winning at cards, but he's not really, he's cheating, you know what I mean? So you're like, oh, this guy's not smart, he's a piece of shit, you know, James Bond steal his girl, you know, and you love to see it. And because he does this, he turns that woman into gold, you know, and like kills her. And it's like, ooh, okay, shit. And then this same guy, Gert Frobe, who played Goldfinger, he had like a Alfred type butler driver, but also like was this badass guy named Oddjob, played by Harold Sakata. And he was the type of character you were like, odd, like where are they getting the names for these guys in this film? You got James Bond, Goldfinger, Oddjob, Jill and Tilly Masterson, M, you know, Q, Moneypenny, the normal people from the Bond universe. But like, what great names. And then the best of names, the woman by the name of Honor Blackman, which Honor Blackman, and then her character's name is Pussy Galore. I was like, Jesus Christ! I go, is this a joke? Is this like in like Wikipedia and somebody typed in the wrong name? But no, apparently her name was really Honor Blackman. Maybe not pronounced like that. I don't know. This was 64, right? So could be pronounced differently, I guess. But Pussy Galore, played by Honor Blackman, she absolutely crushed it. She's like a pilot, but she's also like super hot, but also like has this great name, and you're just like, her name's Pussy Galore, so it's like, oh, what does James Bond get? He gets Pussy Galore! It's all I could think of. I was like, Jesus Christ, how did she end up with this name? But like, so funny, but still a great character and so beautiful for 64, and she's now passed. I was like, God damn, 2020, she was 95, but yet I'm going back to 64 and seeing her as a young woman and somehow still have crushes on her all over again, you know? And like, thank God I didn't have to see her when she was 95, and the only time I've actually seen this woman, her name was Pussy Galore. And she bounced off Sean Connery well and didn't give him any shit, you know what I mean? And the intro song, the Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, Goldfinger, you know, like it felt like one of the first of the Bond songs that like I could tell I've heard before, and it's just like an iconic like woman's beautiful voice over this like moody intro of like, I don't know why every one of the Bonds has this great intro song, and they only get better and better as we go on into Daniel Craig's, you know what I mean? Like some of his Bond ones won an Oscar for the Bond music. Didn't Billie Eilish win for like Golden, or no, not GoldenEye, didn't she win for like Diamonds Are Forever or something like that? Or I don't know. I remember her at least performing and getting nominated for her No Time to Die maybe song. But like, beautiful songs. And going all the way back to 64, still beautiful songs. And like the whole hunt for the gold, and like it felt like of its time. They're fighting for resources, you know what I mean? They're going after this guy for his gold, and he's like smuggling gold, and he's like this big gold guy named Goldfinger, you know? And like, he was a very good villain. Pussy Galore was a great character. Odd Job, Sean Connery. I mean, I don't know what there's not to really love about this. I'm into it. I'm here for it. And like, as far as the rest of the James Bond films so far, I think I like the previous two slightly less. I mean, the first one is probably the worst. The second one got better. This third one got even better. So if anything, they've gotten better as they went, which is a good thing. But overall, for this film, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, about an 8 out of 10. If I had to give it a true score, maybe it's like a 7-9, you know, maybe an 8-0, 8-1. Right on that cusp of a 4-star movie, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars for now. Maybe if I ever rewatch this in the future, my score will go down or up, who knows. But definitely a James Bond film for Sean Connery that I was like really into. It made me want to watch the next film as well, which I think is called Thunderball, also with Sean Connery. And it maybe made me want to rewatch these in the future, you know what I mean? And like, make sure that I really know these Bond films. You know, like I've seen the Daniel Craig ones quite a bit because those are more my generation. But like I've been really dying to go back and watch the Pierce Brosnan ones. I probably haven't seen those since I was a kid, and like my dad made me watch them. So being able to watch them with adult eyes and like an adult brain, you know, it's always good to go back and rewatch stuff that you might have seen when you were a kid. But stuff like this, I had definitely never seen, and I absolutely loved it. You know, like this movie's 61 years old or something like that. Like it's an incredible movie for its age. And like the one thing that I didn't like about it, and it's like the same thing that happens with these movies from the 60s, is that like during the fight scenes, you just start hearing like shuffling of feet and punch effects and like ooh, 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 ooh. But you don't hear any like background noise or music or anything like da 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 dun dun, you know, right as he's about to kill somebody. Like there's no enhancing with music the fight going on. In like the first two movies, the fights didn't look that great as is, but this movie, the fight, like there's like a couple of hand-to-hand fights that like felt real and gritty, and like he's throwing him into the tub, and he throws like a fan or something in the tub and electrocutes the guy, you know what I mean? Like there's stuff like that in this where like I was like, oh shit, that fight was kind of epic. But then I really thought about it. I go, oh, the one thing that feels weird during the fights is like you just hear like, you know, like you just hear like the noises, but you don't hear anything else. And then in between the punches, you just hear like shuffling of the feet on the ground or breathing. And then you hear like a, you know, like there is no like, you know, like as he's about to like get stabbed in the eye and he's holding it back, you know, like there's none of that. None of that, because maybe it's the 60s, maybe they just didn't think about that type of stuff back then. But, you know, that definitely is a problem that goes on forward from here. Because I have seen newer films than this of the Bond franchise, like maybe stuff from the 80s that in later 70s that's still doing the same type of thing where like, you know, the fight scenes are just a lot of and not like any music or background noise at all. And I don't know, you don't always need background music, but like get to the chase scene in Daniel Craig's Casino Royale where he's like chasing this guy down on foot and like parkouring all over stuff. And imagine that just hearing, you know, and not hearing like this track over it, like, you know, like the Bond theme or whatever it is, you know, like you need a little bit of that background noise. But I don't know, maybe it's just me noticing that. Maybe it's nothing burger. Maybe it's something that's, you know, actually holds some weight. Comment below if you noticed that as well, or if you're somebody that would notice those type of things, or maybe you watched it and didn't notice that, but now every time you do, you will. So sorry if I ruined it for you, but definitely comment below if you had the same type of thoughts, or if you had any different thoughts or anything that I didn't mention from the Goldfinger movie or the previous James Bond films. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, I'd love to chat more James Bond 007 with y'all. And stay tuned for Thunderball, which will be the next James Bond movie review coming out. And thank you guys so much if you made it this far in the video and you would like to follow my other social medias, and links for those down in the description below. Send me your thoughts about James Bond 007. And if you've made it this far and you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and James Bond movie reviews when those come out, and you get the notifications when those drop. Once again, my name's Big Cam, 2 G's in the Big, pretty much anywhere look for my face and you can find me. Once again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!